This is Odie, or Odin. Sit. Remember, every time you give a treat, always say the command word after the treat goes to the dog's mouth. In this video, I'm going to share some tips on a walk and how we can keep a dog, have more control on a dog walk using a martingale collar. Now, before I go through that, I have a couple of tips beforehand. Before you go on a walk, I just asked the guardian this. We were inside for most of the session. We're now outside to demo this. But a lot of people ask their dog, do you want to go for a walk? Who wants to go for a walk? You want? And they get the dog all crazy excited. And then we don't understand why they can't control themselves. Don't narrate, just simply walk to where the leash is, and as soon as the dog walks in front of you, turn around and go sit down on the couch like we talked about. And then wait for him to calm down and then try it again, and you'll go back and forth, and eventually the dog will learn, I have to stay behind my human, because whoever's in front is the leader. So the dog will realize, as soon as I get in front of the human stops wanting to go on the walk, and I want to go on the walk, so I'll stop going in front of the human. So they started adopting what we call a follower's mindset. The next step is when you get to where the leash is, tell the dog, sit. Sit. Now I'm using this to redirect him because normally he would bark at that sort of thing, so I didn't want to have an outburst. But when I'm inside, I tell him to sit, and only then do I reach for the leash. And if he gets up, I pull my arm back and I tell him to sit. And if he sits, then I continue. If he doesn't sit, I walk back to the couch and sit down. And so we develop some control, and eventually the dog learns I have to stay calm and relaxed before we actually go on the walk. And that will make it easier. He's going to be able to control himself much better. So once you get outside, we want to help. I like using a martingale collar. Now, a martingale, come here, buddy, has 2 loops on it. You see that he's got his head through it, and he's got another loop back here. This is a 4-foot leash, not a 6-foot leash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position this loop on his spine. I'm going to take the 4-foot leash and I'm going to run it around his chest. And this is going to be loud here for this truck, so I'll wait a second. So you want to do it right in both of his armpits. Let's move over here so people can see it, Odie. And when you go through the circle, always go towards the head, never go towards the butt. The benefit of this is it's a swaddling technique. So babies who are crying, their mother will swaddle them in a towel, and that constriction helps them feel relaxed. Same sort of thing, principle applies here. So when I use this, I'm going to use, this gives me a lot more control of the dog. Let's say that he goes bananas for something. I have a lot more control. And the strongest part of any animal is their chest, and the constriction actually will help relax them a little bit. Okay, so I have rules for what I call a structured walk. Now, first thing I want the dog to be in position, and I'm going to stand up and demonstrate this, but I want the camera close enough so you can hear us because it's a little bit loud right here. So basically, we want his shoulder aligned with my hip. This is the position I would like him to be in, so his shoulder is aligned with my hip right here. So if he's in front, then he's the leader, and he's going to be more reactive to people we pass. So we want him walking next to us, not in front of us. Now, the rule number 2 is keep your arm that holding the leash loose like spaghetti noodle. A lot of people, if the dog is trying to go in front, they start flexing and they're pulling the dog back. The more you pull on a leash, the more dog is programmed to pull against you. See, he's pulling against me. And so you're teaching your dog to pull against you. When I teach loose leash walking, I do it without a leash and without going for a walk. I take the 2 things that are most difficult out of the equation. That takes a lot of practice. This is something that you can use right away, and it'll just make your walks more productive and enjoyable. So rule number 2, keep your arm nice and loose. Rule number 3 is the correction is to go straight up and not backwards. That's another reason why we don't go in front, because if he goes in front, we try to pull back. That creates more of a lurching forward motion. Rule number 4 is no stopping and sniffing. Now, a dog's nose controls 60% of their brain, and to say a dog can't sniff would be cruel. But if a dog is sniffing everything, it cannot pay attention to you. So we have a bit of a conundrum. So what I do is I have what I call a free period on every block. Every block, I decide an area where I'm going to undo the martingale, and then I say free. And the dog has 60 seconds to pee or roll around or sniff or do whatever he wants to do. When you're done with that 60 seconds, I go back to putting the martingale around his chest. The special twist of leash goes through here, and then we're out walking again. So it's kind of an equivalent of when you're a kid, eat your meat and you get your a little bit of dessert. Thank you for the kisses, buddy. All right, and then and then the last thing is for a male, especially a terrier that has his problems, no marking. Marking is different than going to the bathroom. Marking is saying, hey, this is Odie's corner. Odie, you don't know it, but I'll try to make puppies. I can't because he's been spayed, neutered. But this is also my tree, my sidewalk, my block. And so if you let him mark everything between your house and the furthest point away that he marks in his mind is his territory, and if people come around it and they're doing things he doesn't like, he thinks it's his job to correct them. So I let the dog pee at the beginning of the walk and at the end of the walk. Most of us do not take walks that are longer than an hour, and a dog can certainly hold it for longer than an hour. You've left your dog at home. All right, so I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna have the camera stay here. I'm just gonna kind of walk around. You're gonna notice when he gets in front of me, gets out of position, I'm gonna get a quick tug, and I'm gonna immediately take the tension off of the leash. I don't wanna activate that opposition reflex. So I'm gonna pull it. That's about how fast I go. I wanna move up as fast as I can, and then I want to move my hand down even faster, so I take the tension off. So there should really only be tension on the leash for about a fraction of a second. And now I don't ever pull if he lags behind. I let my arm go limp, and I just keep walking. The rig will keep him coming. The only time I correct is if he tries to go in front. If he wants to go at the side, theoretically that's okay as well. The last little thing, this is a 4-foot leash. If you have a really long leash, I have people wrap it around their palm like this. You want to have it short, but not tense. And so you'll see as I stand up how I adjust it. So let's move back a little bit, Odie. And do you walk him on your right side or left side?
Usually on the left.
So I would assign a command. A lot of people worry like, okay, I'm going down Sunset, the traffic's on this side, the grass is here. Always give him a right side or left side initially, so he knows when we're walking, this is my place in the formation. I'm always on the right or always on the left. Since Mom said left, that's where we're gonna start. And one last little thing, I'll show you a little trick. This is the last thing that we teach people when we teach it, the first thing we teach, but it's the last step of teaching a dog with the loose leash walking. So Odie, so I show him that I have the treat and I'm facing him. I take a step backwards and I take the treat back, then I turn it around and I raise it up into a sit, and then I turn and do the same thing. Step backwards to lure him, I'm not pulling him, and then raise it up to put him in a sit. So this is the heel position, is we want the dog at your heel. So that's where it comes from. All right, Odie, let's go ahead and we'll do a little demonstrate. Now this is being a 4-foot leash. This length is good for me. I don't have to do this, but some people will have to wrap their wrist around it, or you could just wrap one finger. So again, I want it to be a quick motion. All right, so I'm just gonna walk back and forth, and he's lagging behind, I just keep going. When I turn, I always turn away from the dog with the dog on my outside. Now his nose is going, normally I would let him sniff a little bit, but for demonstration purposes, well, but don't stop. If he stops to sniff and you stop, he's driving. So we stop in the free period, not wherever you want. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk back and forth on the sidewalk so we'll take away the sniffing ability so we can get a little bit of momentum. Of course, he's walking perfectly now. He's lagging behind, I'm not stopping. Now if he does lag behind, he just sits down, which he likes to do, move him onto the grass. And I hate to say it, but keep walking. If you stop when he does that, he'll like, I can stop her or him. So I just keep going and you'll drag him, but we don't want to do it. There we go. And the grass makes it a little bit easier for, it's not gonna hurt him. All right, come on, buddy. I would like to show you a quick correction. Let me move a little bit further away and I'll come back again. See, I'm letting my arm go limp. That's the correction. So I wanted to at least demonstrate once. Now a lot of people, when they do it, they go like this, and they pull the dog's paws off the ground. We prefer not to do that. Your dexterity for your ability gets better as you practice. But you see, right now we have a bunch of kids coming around, and normally he'd be barking at these kids. But because we're taking leadership in the walk and we did the stuff inside, he's starting to see himself as being in a follower position. And he can let Mom or his handler control the situation, be wary of stuff. He doesn't have to.